What is going on, guys? It's Jono, and I'm so excited to share this with you because it's gonna save so much time. Today we're building a system that will literally go through your Gmail. It's gonna go through all of those attachments you have, PDF files, think about resumes, think about invoices or receipts, think about contracts. It's gonna automatically take that and turn it into text to allow you to do whatever you want with it. Take a look at this because this is so cool. So in front of me, I have my Gmail account, right? And I have this receipt from Pixieset. Now, what we can do and what we're gonna do today is we're going to build a system that automatically takes this PDF document here, okay? It's gonna add that into Google Drive, and it's also going to extract all of these line items. It's gonna put it into a Google Sheet, right? The possibilities here are endless, right? Of course, you can do a Google Sheet like this, but you can do 1,000,001 other things with it. Maybe you wanna automatically extract invoices or receipts, or maybe you want to do contracts, right? That people just sign and pay documents with you. Maybe you want to do resumes. The options are endless, but let's take a look at how this exactly works because we're using something called make.com. It is free to get started. If this does look confusing to you guys, this is going to be a tutorial, a step-by-step tutorial for beginners. So even if you don't know anything about this, you should be able to pick this up pretty fast in this video alone. As always, guys, there is this more button down below. You can import this blueprint right into your account. The link is down below in the description. How this works is we're waiting for emails to come in to Gmail. And once we find an email that matches whatever it is you're looking for, whether it's receipts or whether it's invoices or resumes or whatever, it's gonna take those PDFs. It's gonna save that into Google Drive. And then we're gonna use artificial intelligence, okay, to extract the text from the PDF, list that text so that we can automatically push that into a Google Sheet like this. We're taking all the information, we're using it for whatever it is that you want to use it for. Now, if you guys are new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button down below. Please make sure to give me a thumbs up and also comment if you have any questions. It really helps me out, but it also is going to help you out, hopefully, because if you like this video, you're going to like all of the other videos that I'm releasing pretty much every single day as well. Now, just before we get started, I do have a mandatory dad joke that I have to announce here where, you know, I'm gonna go over Geico here. What exactly, I forget exactly what they said, but it's like 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. I think that was what they said. And same kind of deal with a system like this, where if you just automate all of these tasks that you probably hate doing, honestly, anyways, it could save you 15% or more of your time in a short 15 or maybe 20 or 30 minute video. So if that sounds like something you guys are interested in, let's dive into it right now. We are going to be recreating this from the ground up, and we're using a software called make.com. Now, if you've never used make.com before, that's okay. I'm gonna make this super beginner friendly so that even if you're brand new to this platform, we're gonna walk you through every single step. But if you do wanna watch my intro course on make.com, I'll link it above because I'll walk through exactly how you can get started with make.com. It is free to sign up. You just have to click the get started for free button here. It's gonna prompt you to create an account. And then once you're inside make.com, you'll be presented with a screen like this. All you have to do is click scenarios here, okay? And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna create a new scenario from the top right. Now, when you're inside make.com, this is the screen you're presented with. The first thing you have to do is create a trigger and there's subsequent actions. So if we took a look at the module we're gonna build out, we have a trigger that's a glorified fancy way of saying start. Let's start. So what we're doing here in this case is we're gonna wait to watch for emails. So when a new email comes in, right, that's going to start the trigger, right? And in this particular instance, we have it scheduled for every 15 minutes. So in this workflow, it's going to wait on 15-minute intervals, and every 15 minutes, it's going to watch for an email. And if that 15 minutes has gone past and there's a new email that's come in, right, it's going to execute this workflow. It's going to immediately start it, right? So coming back into our workflow here, what we want to do is just log in to Gmail. So we'll type in Gmail, it'll come up here, and we have triggers and actions, right? So we're going to select watch emails. That's going to be the trigger, but you can also see other things that you might want to do, right? Maybe you want to copy an email or create a draft or delete an email. There's countless of other things that you can do here. But for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to be watching this email. Make sure to choose the right account because If you're like me, you probably have like, as you can see, there are like 50 million different Gmail accounts attached to make.com. Okay, and then we're gonna go into the filter type, and we're gonna select Gmail filter. What the Gmail filter means is that if you just come into Gmail, right, and you were to use this filter up here, it's the equivalent of that technology, right? I don't really like the simple filter in make.com. It doesn't really work that well. I'd rather use like the built-in under the hood Gmail filter because that does work incredibly well. Awesome. So then we have a query here. Now, what this query is well, it's essentially just typing in, your query up here. So if I just copy this title to this particular email and I paste it up top here, it's going to pull in this one email, right? And with that query, it's going to load in all of those emails. In this case, it's just one because we're making it a very narrow query with like this exact invoice number. We're not getting multiple invoice numbers. So maybe if you wanted to, you could come back here and say your receipt from Pixie set, right? And now you have tons of different receipts, and it's going to go through one by one, going through all of these and starting this workflow. But just for the sake of this tutorial, I only want to focus on one, just because when we're testing automation out, it's important just to start really small, focus on one. And then once you get the hang of it, once you build a system that's working, then you can scale it up to 1,000 or 1,000,000 or an infinite amount of possibilities, right? So for this example, we're going to use the query and we're going to isolate it down to one email, right? Just so we're only working with one result at any given time. Then we'll peel back here and we'll make sure that we capture all of the receipts. So for example, maybe you just did receipts here, right? When it's up and running, you could do like receipts. And if you come into Gmail, this is going to give you a list of all of those receipts that you have, right? So that's an option too, or you could do receipts from a specific company like Pixie set. But whatever it is that you want to find, just make sure that you type in here or search query that will get you the results that you're looking for, right? Something that's not too narrow that it's only showing a few, but not broad enough that it's showing all these other results that are unrelated. So this might take a little tinkering to get the exact results you're looking for. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and start with one. And we can leave mark email messages as no. We're not going to mark them as red. And also the maximum number of results, you can put in multiple here. So what this means is every 15 minutes, and I think my face might be blocking this, but every 15 minutes this runs down here. Do you want to pull in one result? Do you want to pull in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20? Usually I just stick with one, but if your inbox is full and you're getting like 5 minutes every 15 minutes or 5 emails every 15 minutes, that means that your inbox is piling up literally 5 times faster than this will fetch it. So you just want to make sure that whatever cadence you set here, if it's every 15 minutes, you're pulling in 1 email, 2 emails, 5 emails, you're just making sure that it gives enough time to go through all the emails coming into your inbox, or at least coming in from this search query that you placed here. So I think 1 is fine. And you could set this interval to maybe every hour or so, and just make sure that you have something narrow enough here. And this will charge you a result every single time in make.com. They charge you on your how many modules you use. So every time this fires every 15, 30, 60 minutes, that's going to charge you money. And keep in mind, this is one of the more expensive ways to run make.com because it's pinging every 15 minutes, which will add up over the course of a month to thousands of different operations that you're using. We're just going to use the inbox, the general inbox here, just for now. And we're going to be fetching all different emails in that general inbox. We're going to click OK. And for the purposes of this, and guys, I wish I knew this starting out with make.com, there's different places where you can start from now on, which means every email coming in from this second moving forward, emails after a specific date. So maybe you want to go back and you want to retroactively find all of these receipts from, maybe a month ago. You can go back and be like, okay, let's start on July 1st, 2024. And every receipt from there, we're going to start running this workflow. Or you can do all emails, right? Process all emails in total. Or in this instance, what you'll see me do a lot in my videos is select the first email, right? So we're just selecting a sample email to work with. In this case, there's just one because we found this email based on the ID of the receipt. We can click OK and we'll run this once. Running this once, it's returned this email with all this information, right? So there's tons of stuff, right? The date that it was sent, you can see the attachments down here, and this isn't really good for us, right? We can't download this PDF. This is just like a text file name, and then it tells you what kind of application it is, and it gives you an ID, but it doesn't really, and then here's the data down here, but it's nothing that we can use so far. So that's not super useful. So we have to extract this PDF file and make it usable. And that's why the next step we're going to do is we're going to take this file and we're going to recreate it in Google Drive, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We just have one intermediary step here, which is an array aggregator. What this does is we are going to essentially make sure that all of the PDFs are merged, right? We're not going to trigger this workflow every single time there's a new PDF. We're only going to trigger this one time per email, right? So if there's multiple different attachments, it could potentially trigger multiple times. So we just want to make sure that if there's two attachments, right? Instead of running the scenario one time for the first attachment and then running the scenario second time for the second attachment, we just run the scenario one time. That's it, right? So how we do that is with the array aggregator. It just bundles both runs into one for this particular email. The source module, there's only one source module because it's Gmail. It's what came before this. We can select all of the results here, and then we can leave the target structure type as custom. There's not an option yet. We haven't provided an additional structure type here. But essentially what's going on here is when we aggregate the fields and we select all, it's just combining all of the fields from this email. So you can see all of these fields here, right, that we have. It's just saying, hey, do you want to include that? Or do you not want to include some of these fields? And if maybe you don't want the header, the basic header, you just remove it, right? But just for the purposes of this, I don't want to limit us too quickly. So we're just going to select all of the fields here just so that everything we get from Gmail is then passed through the array aggregator. Awesome. And that looks pretty good to me. We're going to go ahead and run this again so we can see the results. So we'll click run this module only, and it gave us no result here, right? The output is nothing. It's just an empty array. And that is because I made a mistake here. And instead of choosing run this module only, you have to choose where to start, select the first email, and we're gonna manually choose that email, right? We click OK. And then with this run once button down here, if you can see it, my face might be hiding it, but you just run that and you're good to go. It's going to give us an error here because it doesn't want the array aggregator to be the last module in this workflow, but because we're just testing it out right now, that's okay. We can just ignore that and run it because we're going to change that anyways. We're adding more modules behind this. And here's the results. So we have this array, right? An array is just a list, right? And this list contains one item here. So in this list here, we have pretty much everything we just got from the email already, right? That just in this case, we're merging everything together. Okay, so that sounds good to me. And the next module we're going to do here is Google Drive. And we want to take that attachment and we want to upload it into the Google Drive. And there's a lot of different functionality here. We can search for files and folders. We can download a file, create a folder. And you might intuitively think, okay, well, we got to create a file. But what we actually need to do is upload a file, because right now that file is just, it's kind of, I think it's like binary or some other form of data type that we just can't really access. So we're going to go ahead and upload it into the Drive. Okay, so we can select a folder manually, and I'm just going to go ahead and choose the folder location from a drop-down list, and I'll choose test folder here. And you could try and map it, but it's not going to really help us out here. What we need to do is just create a file name, and then we have to pass the data in here. So if we come into the results here, right, and on the right-hand side of the page, you can see it says array here. Essentially what this means is we're just getting the information from this last step, right? So every step will give us that information to use in the next steps moving forward, right? So we take the data from array aggregator and we use it in the Google Drive upload module. And we need the name and we need the data. So let's start with the data because it's actually going to be a bit easier. We can just type in data at the top here, and you can see all of this data here, right? We just want to click data there, and it's going to load that in for us, right? So we have this array, attachments, data. You can see that there's multiple spaces in between here. That's because this is an array, which is a list, right? So hypothetically, there could be one PDF file in there. There could be 2, 3, 4, 5. If you wanted to get the first PDF file, you just leave this blank or put a 1. If you want the second PDF file, you get a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or so on and so forth, right? But just for the purposes of this, usually when you're dealing with this kind of stuff, it's just one PDF file. So we'll just start off basic for now and have just only the first PDF file. Okay, great. And we can pass in the name here as well. So we can do we can just do the file name here, which is receipt-2115-7578. And that's going to pass in the actual name of that file into Google Drive. We're going to click OK. This should work. I'm just going to test or just take a look and see if there's anything we're missing here. Nope, that looks pretty good. And just the last thing we want to do here before we run this and test it is we want to share this file, right? So we want to get a link to this file that we can share so that it's publicly accessible, so that when we have AI extract the information, it has a link to that file, right? The whole problem is we, in the email section, we don't have that link available. And that's because you can't just say to, an external software, hey, go check out this private email that I have that's behind like a login credentials system, because it doesn't have access to it yet. So we're creating that access for an AI model to be able to read this PDF document. And we're going to get a share link. And in here, we're going to just leave the choose a drive default. Just make sure you choose whatever drive that folder or that file is that you saved it into. We're going to select file. And for the file ID, we're going to choose that file ID from the upload we just created, right? So we are going to upload the file here, and then it'll automatically generate a file ID that we can use in the share link here, right? So we'll pass that file ID in here. And then for the role, it could be reader, type user. We'll just leave this as default. And instead of, sorry, the type is not a user, the type is anyone, right? Because we want this to be publicly accessible to anyone who has the link. It doesn't matter who has it, anyone can read it, okay? We'll click OK, and that's pretty much good to go. And we'll save. Awesome. So now what we want to do is come back to the original module here, and we're going to run the scenario to see if we have that file saved or uploaded into Google Drive, saved, and be able to be shared. Okay, so we'll choose where to run. We'll select the first email here, and we're going to get the one result that we have here. Click OK and run. Sweet. So it's currently uploading. And now we can get a share link here. If we look at the results and we look at the share, there's actually two links here, right? So there's a share link and there's also a web content link. Let's copy the share link here. And this is going to just send us to like a PDF version. And you could download it, you could share it, you could do really whatever you want with it, right? But this is not actually the link we want. We want something like this web container link here, which will allow whoever views this link to download it. So immediately once we come to this link, instead of viewing it necessarily, it's gonna download it. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it just entered my download folder. Up here, you can see right there is the invoice that was just downloaded, which is gonna allow the AI generator to extract that file, read it, and then send back the text. Okay. Perfect. So we're pretty much done there. Now we're going to use another software called Zero Code Kit. And this is going to help us extract this information. So Zero Code Kit just provides a suite of different AI tools, right? Low and no code toolbox. It just really offers a lot of functionality. Now, let's actually take a look at that functionality. So in make.com, we're going to add another module here. And this module is going to be Zero Code Kit. And honestly, this might win like the Guinness World Record of most functions in make.com for a single module. Like, this is crazy. This is this is so many. Anyways, they could have like recreated make.com with this many functions. I'm just kidding. Obviously not, but there's so many things here, right? And you know, there's a lot to do with AI, get text entities with natural language processing, detect the language in a text, get the mood of a text, get context of a picture, translate a text, all that kind of stuff. But we're just going to focus on PDFs, right? And if you type in PDF at the bottom, there's going to be this PDF OCR, which extracts text from PDF documents. Awesome. Now, at this point in time, it's going to ask you to integrate your account into Zero Code Kit. So you can go ahead and log in to Zero Code Kit, and you need to essentially integrate your account with their API. So if you click add, it's going to require an API. And if we just come into your account, you can just copy this, right? And it's going to copy this API key down here. This is on the main page when you log in. And you just paste that API key in there, and then you're good to go, and it's going to work. Now for the PDF URL, we're going to use that link that we just generated, which is the web content link. It's not the share link. The share link is just for somebody to view it, but the web content link is for you to download it, right? So that looks good to me. We'll click OK, and we're going to start this workflow again. I'm just going to save it and actually rename it. This is going to be receipt PDF example. Awesome. And like we did before, we're going to choose where to start, select the first email in the queue, which in this case, we just have one. Click OK, and then run one more time. And now we're going to upload that file again, share the link, pass that link into Zero Code Kit, and it's going to run. One more thing about Zero Code Kit is that you can get started for free. However, with that being said, it's going to quickly require you to upgrade your account, which I think is like $10 a month, right? But think about the time savings involved with something like this, but you can get started for free and at least experiment and test it out. Okay, so this ran successfully, and we have this recognized text here. And this is all of the text that we got from this PDF. So let's just pull up side by side the share link here, and let's scan this PDF file with Zero Code Kit and take a look at the results. So in the recognized text, here's what it returned, right? And I'm just going to zoom in a bit there. And then here's the actual, invoice. So it's pretty good, right? Like, we generated the invoice number here, which is on this page and up here, right? And all this additional text is really good to go, right? So this did a really, really good job of pulling out the results, but we're going to test this by extracting it further and then dumping that into a Google Sheet like this, right? So the next goal is to get the data from something like this, which is now just a random blurb of text, and convert this into a structured Google Sheet, right? With all of the receipts row by row. So we're going to use AI one more time to structure the data the way we want to. You could do this by using like non-AI tools, but the amount of time required to set it up would be exponentially greater. I think it would take probably like 5 or maybe 10 or 20 times as long, just off the top of my head, if I think about it. So we're going to use OpenAI, ChatGPT, and we're going to use this create a completion prompt. There's a lot of different things here. Unfortunately, with this analyze images, this doesn't work with PDFs, but there's a lot of stuff. We're going to use create a completion for this. And for the model, this is just how up-to-date do you want the model. Now, I always use the most up-to-date model, but it is also the most expensive. I think it's 3 cents per 1,000 tokens. What that looks like is we might use like, I don't know how many tokens we'd use, but this is going to cost like maybe 1 cent, maybe 2 cents to do this. If I had to take a guess, I don't know off the top of my head. However, tokens are how something like a language model like OpenAI or ChatGPT prices out their system or their software, right? So a token represents a certain character count. So maybe let's say it's 7 characters is one token, and then you pay on a token by token basis. So we're just increasing the length that we can use, we're increasing the length of the response that we're going to get back. If you keep this too short, like 2, it's never going to give you the result that you want. So you just want to give it enough wiggle room to get the exact results you're looking for. So just for now, I'm going to put it at 2000, and we're going to have a message here. Okay. And this message is going to be a user, and user is the main message type. And then you have system and assistants, which are supplementary, I believe. And essentially with the message content, we want to tell ChatGPT to extract the information that we're looking for. So please analyze the text below and extract the following items for me. And we're going to come into this spreadsheet and we're going to copy all of these in here. Now, if you guys want, this is also going to be down below. So you have a link to this spreadsheet. You'll have a link to this, or you can just quickly pause it and copy this in. But essentially we have invoice number, we have quantity, we have price, and then we have tax, and then subtotal, total, date, and then we have the description of the product that we just bought, right? Okay, cool. And then we'll say, here's the text. And we'll pass in the recognized text that we got from Zero Code Kit. But there's one catch here, right? And this is probably the most critical part and the most complicated part of this workflow, is we want to make sure that when we receive a response from ChatGPT, right, we can structure in a way that's predictable, right? So we have, for example, an invoice field or invoice number, and it gives us the invoice number. We have a quantity field, and it gives us the quantity number. We have a price field, and it gives us the price exactly corresponding to it. And every time it's predictable, it's not going to change like the price field to, subtotal field or whatever, right? It's very predictable. So we have to create a JSON structure. JSON is a data structure on how you can form data, right? So we're going to pass in here, and I'm going to explain this in much greater detail as we walk through this process together. But please make sure the output is JSON data. Okay, we'll add another message here. This is going to be an assistant, and we're going to say, please structure. And I just like repeating this because sometimes you say something to ChatGPT and it doesn't pick it up the first time. So I just repeat it just because I want to make sure there's no errors here. Please structure the data in JSON format. Okay, awesome. And what we can do is we can actually copy these line items here. And I'm going to open up ChatGPT for this. Once again, if you guys just want to copy what I'm doing, it's going to be in the description below. But if you guys want to learn how to do this properly, this is how I would do it, especially if you don't have a background in coding, because obviously it can seem a bit daunting, but it really doesn't have to be. In ChatGPT, we're going to create a prompt here, right? And we're going to write in, please create me a JSON structure where I have the following information in here. Use placeholders for all the data right now, and make sure that the placeholders are clearly placeholders so that you, and I'll put ChatGPT, would recognize them as placeholders. Here's the info I need to collect. And this might change depending on what you're looking to build here, but I'm gonna paste this in here. Okay, and here is the, here's the data, right? And all we have to do is just simply copy and paste this in. So we'll copy this, we'll come back into make.com, and we'll say, here is an example of here is exactly what I want the JSON data to look like. And we'll paste it in, right? Actually, before we paste that in, we need to add these two brackets here. So these are square brackets, and this is denoting something called an array in JSON. What an array is think about it like a list, right? So if we come back to the simplest thought I had, you have two documents here, right? And a list can contain one document, it can contain two documents, it can contain three documents or four documents, so we just need to wrap it in a list here, and then we can paste that JSON in, and we are good to go. We're going to add in one last message here. This is going to be an assistant, and we're going to say, please do not add any additional text to the output. Only provide the JSON data and nothing before or after the square brackets here. Okay, that's it. We're just going to leave it at that and then click OK. And what we're telling ChatGPT is that sometimes, like in this, when you get a response back from ChatGPT, like if we look at this, it'll be like, here's a JSON structure with clearly identifiable placeholders. And it's like, no, I don't want those clearly identified. I don't want this text here. I also don't want this text here, because we need this data structure so we can feed it into the Google Sheet. If you give me this text, it's going to break the whole system, because this isn't JSON and this isn't JSON. So it's going to throw an error here. So we're just removing that. We're creating the structure, and we're getting it to read this and categorize it into these lists. And we give an example of what that data looks like, right? And if with this JSON structure, if we come back into ChatGPT, JSON is just key value pairs. So you have a key and invoice number. Every time you run this, this make.com scenario here, what's going to happen is we're going to look for that invoice number key, right? And it's always going to change the invoice number. This is the invoice number here. So you can see I tested this out a couple times here, but the invoice number might be like 55B0, whatever the first time. It might be like this the second time, and then that the third time. So the value here is in the green, and that always changes. But the key is in the red, and it never changes, right? So this is how we look up that value. So we can say, hey, this invoice number, which is going to be this, whatever it is here, we need to pass that into the invoice number field here, right? So this is how we find the invoice number, by the placeholder. And then we pass in the value, which will always change depending on the receipt that we are scraping. Okay, sweet. So we'll click OK. And we're going to do one last thing here. We're going to add a module, and we're going to select JSON. We're going to parse this JSON. And all we have to do is add the results from ChatGPT. So we're creating the JSON here, and then we're parsing it, which means we're just putting it into a format that's super user-friendly so that make.com can understand it, and it's going to be easier to read as well. I'm going to run this module just so that you guys can see exactly what that looks like, so that just so that if you're like a visual learner, you can see it as well as me just trying to explain it. So we'll wait for this module to run. We've created it, shared it. We're now extracting the text from it. Once the text is extracted, then we're going to GPT, and we're going to structure the data that we're looking for, and then we're going to parse it here. Now, we did run into an error here. Let's take a look at this error. It says source is not valid JSON, right? If we look at the results, you can see here it put this JSON thing here, right? But other than that, it looks great, right? It looks really, really great. So we just got to go back into the prompt here, and we just got to say, please do not add any additional text such as this to the output. And then I'm just gonna, once again, add another assistant here saying, do not add this text to the output. There we go. Okay, we'll click OK. And we're going to choose the module again, where to start, select the first email. We're going to run this again. Okay, select that email, click OK, run it. Let's see if it correctly got us the JSON that we're looking for here. All right, the moment of truth. So much suspense. Okay, it still didn't give us the valid JSON that we're looking for here. Let's take a look at the results, and we can see again here that it actually added it in again. So sometimes ChatGPT can be really, really stupid, right? And it can take a result like this and add it back in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this here. Please do not add any additional text to the output. No HTML, no markdown, just plain JSON in text format. Only provide the JSON data, but don't include anything before or after the square brackets here. Never add this to to the output. Okay, we're going to run it again. Choose where to start, and we'll run this one more time. Unfortunately, you can see that there's quite a few mistakes that will come up when you start automating your systems, but I think there's a lot of value, and it's really important to showcase this as well, because if you guys start diving in and creating your own systems, you're also going to run into these same mistakes too. So I want to include this in there so you guys can see exactly how I would go about debugging these processes. Okay, we're going to take one more look here. Source is not valid JSON. Oh boy. Okay, we're going to come back in here. Please structure the JSON format exactly like this. Okay, and let's see. We're going to do system here. And we're going to do system instead of assistant. Please do not add any additional text to the output. No HTML, no markdown, just, I'm going to remove this text here. I'm going to say only provide the JSON data, but perfect. Please don't include anything before or after the square brackets. Okay, awesome. Never add this to the beginning of the response you provide. Okay, click OK. And we're going to choose where to start, select from the first email one more time. And we'll give it another shot here. Click OK. Run this one time. Now wait, we'll see if this officially worked this time. Okay, perfect. So we just had to tweak it a bit, and now we have all of this information that we've collected from ChatGPT. We have the invoice number, we have the date, we have 2 items in here. We have the total, we have the subtotal, GST, PST, all of that kind of stuff, right? So that's really, really cool. Now, this looks really, really great to me. Now the last thing we just need to do is we need to dump this into Google Sheets. So we're going to add a row. Now, before we just go in here, you can see that you can see the way that the data is structured, right? We've used ChatGPT to provide us with the invoice number as the key, and then the variable is the invoice number. So we can use this in that Google Sheet, and this will always change every receipt we have. It easily took out the date. It easily took out the items, the total, subtotal, GST, PST. GST and PST, if you guys are wondering, is tax in Canada. So that's just what that is. So let's go ahead and let's add this to the Google Sheet here. So in the URL, we're gonna copy the ID of this spreadsheet. This is everything before the /edit, and it's everything after the d/. We're going to search method, select from all, and we're going to enter in this ID. This should give us an error down here, which says 403 permission denied. It's because I need to select the right Google account linked to this spreadsheet, which I've gone ahead and done. The sheet name by default should be sheet 1. I'm just going to zoom in here. So it's by default sheet 1, but you could add multiple tabs to this. For the purpose of this, we're just going to go with sheet 1. We'll select that, and it will load in all of these headers here. Header from column A all the way to column H here, which you can see, invoice number, column A, quantity, column B, all of that kind of stuff. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to map the fields that we got from the text parser, right, which parsed the information from GPT, right? So just to back up there, we upload the file, we extracted the text using Zero Code Kit here. We got GPT to extract the information from just the text that we had from the file, right? We extracted it in a way that made it really easy for us to get this, and then we parsed that information using the parser so that we can literally just click this information into the Google spreadsheet. So we'll do quantity, and for this instance, I'm just gonna go into items and choose item 1 here, price, tax, and subtotal here. And then we can do a total, and we can also add in the date here, as well as the description, right? So we have all of the different fields. Now, if you have like multiple items like this, right, and maybe you want to add in item 2, right? What you could do in here is you could do, you copy these, right? And then I'm just for this explanation, I'm going to put it here, item, quantity item 2, right? And I'm just going to add item 2 onto everything here. And you could do item 3 here, you could do item 4, you could do item 5, whatever it is. And you could just essentially come in here and choose price, right? So what is that? Price is column K. So we could do price 2. And this is going to come in here and grab the second item in here, right? So we have 2 items. If you put 2 in here, it grabs the second. If you put in 3, it grabs the third, right? So just kind of coming back here, looking at this data. Items, we have 1 and 2. You put 1 for the first or blank. You put 2 for the second, 3 for the third. And that's how you could really quickly have multiple different items in your Google spreadsheet here, right? So I'll just leave it as price for there, just so you guys can kind of take a look. And this all looks awesome to me. I'll go ahead and run it. The only other thing that maybe might be worth noticing, oh yeah, okay, 12% tax. Maybe you come back here and you restructure with ChatGPT how you want these items to be listed. Like maybe, for example, you say, please make sure the tax is outside the items. And then it should recreate this for you so that the tax is outside. So it removed, in this case, the tax, and it put it outside. So in the first place, we had this list, right? The list is denoted by these square brackets of different items that people bought. The item is denoted by these curly braces. And then you have, for every item somebody bought, description, quantity, price, tax, subtotal, just removing the tax from every item. And we're putting it into the general list information. Okay, so that is effectively how you can web scrape, or how you can extract content from PDFs. And the same you can do for contracts as well. Like you could go through this contract. This would be a video for another day, just because I don't want to push this video too long. But you could come in here and you could be like, hey, tell me what the wedding, or what the type of event is. And it will pull out wedding. Tell me the start time. Tell me the end time. Tell me the length of time that you want, or that this contract is for. Tell me the date. Tell me how much was paid, right? Like tell me the subtotal, and tell me the discount price. Tell me the subtotal. All of these fields, like you can just go through this whole contract. You can you can extract all of these fields so that you can start using this immediately. And you don't just have to, send it to Google Sheets. Like if you wanted, you could update this in your CRM. So maybe in my case, I use Go High Level, right? So I could come in here and I could update a contact, or I could add them to a workflow, right? So I could add them to a campaign if I wanted to. Campaign and workflow are the same and Go High Level now with this API here. The options are endless, and this is super powerful if you want to free yourself from having to go through email by email, having to extract those PDF files and then push them into a Google Drive, save them there, then have to manually go back and forth between the tabs until you find the information you're looking for, put into a Google Sheet, because all that stuff can be automated. I mean, it's just, honestly, it's just a waste of time. It's all the little things that eat up a ton of your day, right? And if you can just automate those little things, think about how much more time you'd have, right, in your day if all these little things that add up to be 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 hours in your day are just automated, right? It's awesome, and this is a really game-changing, really powerful way to do just that. So thank you guys so much for watching if you made it all the way to the end here. If you did like this video, please make sure to subscribe down below and hit the like button. Comment if you have any questions. I will get back to you. Subscribing really tells me I'm doing a good job, and I also will be doing videos like this pretty much every single day. So if you like this content, well, then I know you're going to like the other videos I'm making as well, because it just allows you to free up tons of your time so that you're not doing the minutia that you probably hate. You want to stab your eye out doing every single time you do it, like this, right? Nobody likes doing this. So thanks guys once again. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.